Okay, I'm recording this again. This is part 3 of the class. Part 2 was the samples and the discussion of project number 4. The reason why I'm breaking into smaller movies is because this part and the first part I can put up on YouTube without being shot down by YouTube for having the wrong music up there. These will go back up into, but you can still access the second clip with all the videos in it via Zoom. The Zoom link I'll send out probably tomorrow. Okay, because I don't get it for like an hour or two, and after class I just need to take a break. Okay, so everybody wants to know how the bloody map is done. Okay, let's see here. Do I have anything that was useful for here? Since I wasn't expecting this, you'll have to give me a split second. Let's see. Okay, I don't have a map handy. Does mean so I'm doing things on my other monitor. Basically, I'm bringing up good old Google. How do I find everything I need? Okay, we just want to find ourselves a map. What's the resolution on that? Oh, that's a good resolution. Save images. Downloads. You just watch your teacher pirated an image. Don't tell anybody. So I'm going to import that file. Downloads. Okay, that's a pretty big map. Much bigger than I need. So I got to scale it down. Okay, first things first, I'm going to make this 3D because I'm going to have to bend this, right? Okay, everybody with me so far? So far all I've done is taken an image off the internet and then dropped it into my comp. Here's the trick of doing the map, is you don't have a map, you do 3 of them. Okay? And because I made the first one 3D, they're all 3D. Then I take my masking tool, remember that? And I break this up into thirds. Now this is going to be kind of a crude version of this, so bear with me. Take that. Go to number 2. Do that. And then I'm going to go to number 3 and make my final map. My number 2 map is in question, so I just go mask and expand it a little bit until I get the whole thing. There we go. Alright, now I've got 3 things all overlapping with each other. Okay. The next thing I need to do is play with the anchor point again. Notice how important that anchor point really is. Okay, so I'm going to go select all of them, hit letter A for anchor point, deselect, and I'm going to hit the pan behind tool. And I'm going to move the anchor point to where I want the bend to be, like right there. Go to number 2, here. Left side, keep everything on the left side. And the third and final one, grab it, put it there. Okay, so I've got this now as 3 anchor points in 3D space. R for rotation. So I now have, and like I said, notice the edges don't match and stuff, so I'm doing this real fast. I've got various types of rotations I can do. If I do an X rotation, that happens. If I do a Z rotation, that happens. If I do a Y rotation, look what happens. That's where I get my folds. So I can take that, fold that over. Actually, that's probably not what I want to do. I probably want to do this one because it's smaller. Fold that over, and then have this one fold over on top of that. Again, if I had spent more time and energy on it, I would have everything lined up perfectly and all the lines would be great. Now, if I wanted to, let me just do a simple animation here real fast. Y rotation, 3 seconds. I'm not going to do it, open and close it the whole way. I'm just going to that. I'm going to have the exact same thing on the other one. Keyframe that. Over. Back to 0. Okay, so now my animation has them flapping the little edges. To make my life easier, take that, go layer, pre-composition, map, comp. And now, remember, I've got to make this 3D again, and also I've got to tell it collapse transformation, a little asterisk there. The reason I need to do that is that it pulls in the 3D information from the previous composition. And this makes this, the reason why I want this 3D, of course, is I want to be able to rotate this. I can decide how I want the map to look. Now the animation stays the same. But now, because it's pre-comped, I can manipulate the thing as one. I could animate that to rotate as well. So let's see. X rotation is what I want. Nah, not the X rotation. I want that. Yeah, that's what I want. Well, actually Z on this one. You get into a lot of, got to make your mind what you want. So now I have it rotating while it's flapping. Does that make sense to everybody? Sure, I can add light source, but remember, if I want a light source, I've got to go in and do layers, new, light. Cast shadows, solid. Spotlight's good. That's how I want that. But remember, I gotta go back to the map comp, choose material options, cast shadows on. I selected all of them so I could hit that on position, do all of them at the same time. Go back to the comp. And notice how long it's taking to render that. The moment you add a light, it really is adding in a lot of extra. Now you don't have to use the parent-child relationship with this. It depends upon what you want the folds to look like. And I didn't use that here, and it was not necessary. So it gets into what you're trying to do. For the parent-child relationship, I don't think it's really necessary to do this animation, but it could be done. Obviously I needed to pay more attention where I was putting in my masks, but it does. Yeah, if you wanted to do an S thing, you would have to do a lot more folding and rotation. It's a little trickier. Obviously I don't want to spend the next hour doing this, So I'm not doing anything complicated, but you can see how you can take it to the next step. Also, at this point in time, I hope you guys realize how you could do, like, say birds' wings flapping and things like that. You think outside the box. Yeah, I'm showing you how to fold a map, but think how else you can do other animations. Okay? All kind of cool, though, right? Hopefully. You'll find it as such. I'm glad you like that. But if you think about it, that map folding, we've covered this. All the information you needed to know is right there for this. Okay? The other thing about the S-fold is where you put the anchor point is a big deal. Because obviously, to put that one over that one, they asked you want to put the anchor point for the center one in a different location than the final ones. Okay? So any other questions on that? Think about it for a second. Okay. The reason I'm doing this is I have it because we have extra time. I can, it's hard for me to judge how much time we're going to be doing. Where am I on my files? Oh, student view. No, leave student view. Sorry. I got a file for you here. We're going to switch gears now, totally, radically. Nothing to do with what we've already talked about. Okay? It all interconnects, of course, but I need you to actually shift gears here. We're going to talk about a very powerful feature in After Effects, and I want to emphasize I'm giving you the bare bones basics of this. Okay? This is not a complete discussion. This is just to let you know something exists. Once again, I'm going to start with a new composition. Okay, I'm going to grab another giraffe here. He's too big. There we go. There's my giraffe. Oops. Pan behind tool. Really? No, silly computer, don't do that. Pointer tool. There we go. All right. We're going to be talking about a thing called expressions. Expressions in this handout, which you can now download, and you can wait until after class to download it. You don't have to take the time to do it right this second because I'm going to walk you through it. The first thing on the left-hand column is exactly what it is, and I'm about to show you all these things. Okay? The second part of this deals with what the expressions are. The expressions are literally, and I mean this in the broad, is basically the under the hood computer programming for After Effects. I know that sounds scary, but it's not as bad as it sounds. For a lot of people, this is like the most amazing thing on the planet. For other people, it drives them nuts. So. Okay, hold on, everybody. Okay, I'm just getting myself together here. Okay, so what are expressions? Expressions are specific computer code that you can access to do fancier things than you normally could. Okay? For example, I'm going to go hit the letter P for position. Really? There we go. P for position. I'm going to come down here to the zoom in a little bit. Now, normally you use this to just make keyframes, right? But if you actually hold down the Alt code, this will open up. You'll get the thing expression position, get some icons, and in the timeline area on the right hand side, you'll get an area to write information. This is where you can drop in the equivalent of computer code. Okay, I'm going to give you several examples in that handout which you can use. Now, first and foremost, this is very, very precise. You must type it in exactly, both uppercase, lowercase, any other special characters, and, of course, anything other information. If you have one typo in here, it will sit there and turn red and say, no, I don't like this. For example, if I go wiggle, and notice that as I type, the newest version actually has this wonderful helping tool. So you can just go there and go select that as opposed to typing it. Wiggle is one of the most famous ones. And notice it has brackets. And it basically wants those brackets for information. So I'm going to put in brackets, say 2 minus, plus 1, 2 minus 12, no, 10. Okay. This is computer code on the positioning location. By typing the word wiggle in the brackets, watch what happens. Notice that it's literally wiggling the image. It's randomly changing the position. Okay. The first number is the frequency. How often does it do it? The second number is how much does it do it? So every 2 seconds, or every second it's randomly moving this 10 pixels. If I increase this to 100 pixels, notice what's going on. If I do this more frequently, like 5, oops, not return. Come back here, you. Deselect it. And I got myself a regular earthquake going. Now, normally at this time I would tell you to now type in your own random numbers to see the different types of things that you can have happen. So this is where I have a lot of randomness but very short motion. But like I was saying earlier, that it has to be a you know, very precisely done. If I were to accidentally put in something here that it doesn't like, say, such as letter A, you know, it says, whoa, stop, project containing expression error, because it doesn't know what this is. Yeah, it's freaking it out. So now it's happy again, and it'll start moving again for me. Now, the reason I'm showing this to you is not just to do something simple like the wiggle here, which is actually very frequently used because it gives a more organic randomness to having things move, but also just to let you know that this exists under the hood of After Effects. People write tons of code to do amazing things with expressions. Some of the higher end special effects are done at this location. Does this mean you have to learn computer programming? No. However, you can go to various websites around the internet, type in After Effects expressions, and they will come up and give you code. And basically, this is what the majority of us do in real life: is we search for the expression we're looking for and cut and paste it into the thing. There are multiple inch thick books talking about how to do this. If you're into computer programming, this is like amazing. But again, it is up to you how you want to do it. Okay, so if this is boring you, I apologize. We will just have to play with it. But to give you an idea, the handout has like 4 or 5 examples. So I'm just going to go ahead and make another new composition. I'm going to call this one time. I'm going to put a rectangle up on the screen. I'm going to make my fill a red. And I'm going to make no stroke on this one. There we go. So I've got my red thing there. And I'm going to take my anchor point. And I'm going to move it into the corner of that. Of course, you know what that means. It means that if I rotate it, it spins around. Whoa, wait a second, view. Pan behind tool, that's not what I want. Let's see. There's my pan behind tool. I must have missed it. My apologies, everyone. Okay, so rotation. There we go. So it swings around that. Whee! That works for me. Okay. Now, here's another expression that is on the handout. It's a very simple phrasing. Again, I hit Alt, stopwatch. Opens up the expression option. And I'm going to put in time, lowercase, and you can see it's a valid typing because it shows it right there. An asterisk, this is unfortunately the extra stuff is not in that pop out yet, so I'm going to say 10. Okay, sounds simple enough. Watch what happens. Basically, it's moving at 1% every second. Now, 10 degrees every 10 seconds. What happens if I typed in 365? Then every second it goes once around the clock. The neat thing about expressions is, notice they don't use keyframes. Very, very interesting stuff there. So if I wanted to this is how I can get all those gears and other things to move exactly at the right times without trying to sync things up with keyframes. So there it's moving 25 degrees every second. So again, if you're doing like wheels or things like that, and of course placing the anchor point is critically important, because if I were to put the anchor point back in the center of the thing with it rotating, it would spin around like that. So have I lost you guys yet, or is this making a little bit of sense? Dead silence. You guys can hear me, right? Okay, thank you. I can't tell whether you guys just wander off and are watching TV in the other room and say, I'll watch the video later. I certainly hope not. Okay, and then also to get rid of it, you just click on it, delete the text and size. The answer to the question was, can you apply time to any transition? The answer is yes and no. Some of the transitions do work, depending upon what you're doing. For example, I can put wiggle into other things. So rather than wiggle in position, I could put wiggle into rotation. Oops, don't do that. And you can see the wiggling is rotating. But for example, wiggle would not work with opacity. The code has to work appropriately for the choice that you're using it for. Okay? So like I said, wiggle makes no sense for opacity. But, time will work for other things as well. This is where this is a much more complicated thing. But you should know that this exists, because you can do some really powerful things with it. Particularly if you watch online tutorials and stuff, they will knock out an expression real fast and you'll say, what the heck was that? So I'm preparing you for that sort of thing. Alright, I have now deleted my time thing on my little red rectangle. And I am going to go to opacity. Remember that flickering thing that I did last week for the window? Where I sort of had to cut and paste a lot of keyframes with opacity? Well, let me just make something real simple here. I'm going to go ahead and make keyframes. That at 100%. I'm going to have it go down to 42, back up to 100, no, back up, let's go back, yeah, back up to almost 100, 100 with a, now I'm going to go back down to 60. So it flashes like that. That's pretty fast. Now I could select these and cut and paste them, right? But why should I do that? Because I have another option. By getting into the code, notice that I can use keyframes and expressions together. I'm going to type out a weird thing called loop. Now notice that this is case sensitive, U-T. That's a uppercase O and a lowercase L. Yeah. Okay. And the neat thing about this is I'm not going to put any information in there. Watch what happens. Basically, the code loop out says take whatever keyframes you find on this layer and just repeat them until the timeline ends. It will just do it over and over and over and over again. Cutting and pasting works also fine, but this is a very fast way of creating. So if you need flashing, signs or things like that, so much faster than trying to, just spending all your time cutting and pasting. Okay. What do you guys think? So far, so good? Does that make sense what I'm talking about? There are a ton, and I mean a frickin' ton, of expressions. I mean, just hit any letter, you can see how many things pop up. Do be careful. Do not just do this randomly, by the way. Another example I have in my handout. Again, I'm going to use motion with this one. I'm just going to go to position this time. Start at the beginning. Keyframe that. Go over 3 seconds. Go here. Go to the end. Okay, so in 3 seconds this thing moves back and forth, right? Okay, now this is going to sound very, very strange, but this expression is very crazy. So I'm going to hit my Alt key, open up, and I'm going to go back to that loop out. But this time I'm going to put a bracket and type something in with quotes, which is ping pong. Notice that it put quotes in at the very end as well. So think about this for a second. Loop out, as you saw with opacity, is repeat, right? Repeat keyframes. Ping pong, on the other hand, well, let's watch what that does. It literally, basically, even though I told it to just go from left to right, ping pong, make a shorter, faster one, just tells it to go back again. So it goes back from this position to this position, back and forth. Ping pong really does live up to its name. Now there's other thing that I could have typed in there, but again, they don't all work for the same thing. This could be an entire advanced class just doing expressions, honest to goodness. I'm not expecting you to memorize this. I do have the handout with these basic ones in it. Alright? I just want you to be aware that this exists because this is tied together with lots of other things. Okay. Stop moving. Okay. I'm going to make one more and then we'll change subjects again. Another composition. I'm going to make another new shape. I think I'll make a star this time just because I want to be different. Let's make it a blue star. Okay, there's my blue star. I'm going to put you there right there. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to make this, and now I'm going to duplicate this. This gets a little complicated. Of course, it's the last one I'm showing you, so I just want to make sure. So I have the thing. So I'm going to, on my first one with position, I'm just going to move this around the screen here. So I'm going to have it go from left to right, come over here, swing down, come over here, swing left, and at the very end I'm going to have it come back up. Not exactly to where it started from though. So, just to make my movement go. Okay, I'm happy with that. So I'm going to now go to the second layer. Okay. I'm going to, of course, open up position again, but I'm not going to make a keyframe here. I'm going to alt-click, and this is going to be a little bit complicated, so bear with me for a second. This comp.layer. Okay, so I'm going to tell the system that I'm taking this, this composition layer, layer number 2. Yeah, I know it's called layer, shape layer 1, but okay. Bracket. This layer, comma, -1. Okay, this gets a little complicated, but basically what I've just told it so far is this layer, okay, everything I want to do is with this layer, but it's going to pull the information from the one above it. This layer -1. Okay. Period. I'm going to then tell it to change the position at time, bracket, time minus 0.5. So basically I'm telling the computer, this. I'm telling After Effects, take this layer, look at the layer above it, i.e. look at their keyframes. And what do I want it to look at? I want it to look at the position of the layer above it. Okay, that -1 is very important, okay, because I'm literally saying the one above that. I want you to look at what it's doing, where its position's at. And what do I want you to do with that? Well, I want you to alter the time of the timeline, and I just made a typo there, 0.5. I need a 0.5, 1/5 of a second. I had a comma in there, and I do not need that extra period. Okay, so the time minus 0.5 seconds. Okay, so it's less than a second. It doesn't like that. Error. This comp, and the problem is the comp, letter C needs to be capitalized. Yep. Okay. Contains an error? No, it doesn't. Yes, it does.
The T value at time needs to be capitalized, I think.
Yes, it does. This is what it always gets. This drives me nuts. I'm not a good typist. There we go. So, what happens now is, literally, watch. The second star, 0.5 seconds later, is following that. So if I go back in there, position. Thank you, by the way. Don't tell me I just deleted what I just wanted to do. Yep, I accidentally deleted. Let me do that again. There we go. So if I were to increase this to, say, 1 second, now the neat thing about that is now if I duplicate out this one that has the expression on it, each one is looking at the layer above it. And notice that I only used a couple keyframes to get all those layers to do that together. Now, if I spent a little bit more time, I could have also used the time and the rotation and everything else to make these spin in a circle, coming out of one another. And by the way, thank you for catching my typos, guys. Appreciate that. So what do you guys think? Expressions are one of those weird things. You're either going to love them or hate them. I have a mixed feeling about it just because I'm such a bad typist. I'm always not putting the right capital in the right place. But they are extraordinarily powerful. They're important for you to learn that they are there. If we get some time later in the semester, I'll show you a more advanced way of using them and stuff to do some really fancy stuff. But we'll see how our time goes, etc. So I just dumped a lot of information on you, but all the handout has all the information on it. Please feel free and play with it. So you do get a handout for this evening. Okay. So what do you guys think? Interesting stuff, huh? It's something different for you to think about. Okay. Any questions on any of that craziness? No, there's no tests on this. No, you do not have to have expressions in your next project or your final project. This is just an FYI that this exists. I mean, they make books out there. There's a massive number of websites. People who get into this are really like into it and do amazing things with expressions. But you need to, yes, Max, I do have a handout for expressions. It is in the download area, and it looks like this. Expression basics. And it, like I said, the first half talks about how to get there and all the little codes and stuff like that to get into the fun stuff. So everything I just showed you is on the handout. Okay, these were the simplest ones. Even this last one is not super complicated, but even you notice I typoed it. So don't feel bad if you do the same thing. They're just fun ones to play with and give you a taste of what expressions are all about and stuff. In a more advanced class, we'd spend a lot more time with this, and there would be a lot more headaches because it would be what's known as, computer guys like to refer to as debugging, figuring out where the typo is. Because the really complicated expressions, I almost always get one typo in them. I just can't help myself for some odd reason. I'm just that bad of a typist. So don't feel bad if you have that issue as well. Okay? All right. Any questions on that craziness, whether it be the movement, the various ping-ponging, or even making an earthquake? The handout's pretty simple and straightforward. As you can see, the things that we type in are literally what you see there. As a matter of fact, Wiggle is so common nowadays, they actually made it into a menu here to do these, to basically type in the code for you. Okay, I'm old school, so I don't tend to do that. Can you combine the last expression with other ones? Yes, you can. I'll let you explore that one on your own. See, I'll tempt you there. But don't sacrifice your time for this for your project number 4 or final project, okay? Only if you have some free time. If you really are fascinated by this, like I said, there's a lot of websites out there that dedicate themselves to this. What the professionals like myself do is we actually search those websites, we look for the expression we want, and we cut and paste these guys from their website directly into where we need them. Okay? So feel free to explore them. Just remember that some of these expressions don't work with everything. Okay? Like I said, wiggle and opacity isn't going to get you much. Alright. Ready for one final thing for the evening. This is not particularly complicated, but I do want to bring it up real fast to remind you about things. Okay. Alright, I don't see anybody jumping all over me. Alright. I want to talk briefly, real briefly, about keyframes. Notice that I have the diamond-shaped keyframes here. Perfectly ordinary ones. I got 2 identical layers, and they just simply move from the left side of the screen to the right side of the screen. Okay. Nothing very exciting about that. However, there's a thing in the... I'm selecting both these keyframes. And you can get to what I'm about to do several different ways. One is you can right-click on the keyframes and use what's known as keyframe assistance. And use a thing called Easy In. Easy Ease. Excuse my language there. I'll get it pronounced properly eventually. Easy Ease. Also, most of us just hit F9 by raw habit. We're so used to this. Changes these keyframes into these weird hourglass shapes. The hourglass shapes change the way the diamond shapes move. Let's watch this for a second. Look what happens. Notice that the blue one starts slowly, then speeds up, and then slows down again. Okay? Because what's happening? With a normal diamond-shaped keyframe, it goes from 0 to X number of miles an hour, and it's a constant speed all the way, and then just stops. That's not very naturalistic, now is it? Easy Ease basically creates a situation where it starts off slow, ramps up, and then slows down again to give it a natural speed of speeding up and slowing down. Is one of these better than the other? The answer is no. It depends upon what you're trying to make it look like. Okay? Now I can demonstrate that curve toggling things. Actually, I'm actually going to go up here. Okay. Notice that I have this weird thing called the graph editor. I haven't really talked much about these guys yet, but bear with me. The graph editor opens up the timeline and you have to highlight what you've easy eased. And notice, if I hit the position, P for position, make this easier, you'll notice that the line actually goes perfectly straight. It's going, 50 pixels per second from beginning to end. That's what the speed of that is. But if I look at my easy ease cube, it starts at a much slower rate, speeds up, and then slows down again. Again, it's a nice bell curve that naturally works that way. Now the thing about this graph editor is I can actually go in here and change this. I can alter the speed of the thing. I can do all sorts of fun things. I can actually make it move faster and come to the end point much faster than the other one. I can ramp the speed up into anything I want it to be. So I can make it look like the tortoise, where it starts off super slow, ramps up to super fast at the last minute, and then races to the end of the line. As long as my keyframe is on the last frame exactly as 10 seconds like the red one is, they actually are literally moving the same distance at the same time, but it's different speeds. We do this for more naturalistic motion and stuff, and it's just one of those neat things. Now, I do want to warn you that easy ease is not the answer to all your prayers. When people first start using it, they tend to overuse it. What do I mean by that? Here I've already made a comp, and you'll notice that the upper one, the blue square, is easy eased, and the green one, and they've got 4 keyframes. And what's going to happen is they're going to go down, around, and back up again. But notice what is happening. Does that look natural to you? What's happening, of course, is simply this. Because it's easy-eing in at every single stop, it speeds up, slows down, speeds up, slows down, speeds up, slows down. If I look at the graph of that, and you sit there and go, is that a natural movement? I don't think so. Okay, now I might want it to look like that. Again, this is an artistic choice, but it is just the way it does work sometimes. But you can literally look at the graph and sit there and go, oh, okay. But the funny thing, of course, is you'll notice that they all end exactly at the same time in their right positions. So even though I'm playing with it. Now, a lot of people use this to make bounces and other kind of weird, more Looney Tunes type animations, which is perfectly acceptable to get these weird bouncing things like that, because it allows you, again, to create these more natural motions. But again, it's just something to think about. And I'll also let you know that it's there as a choice. If you read your chapters, that's not the one. Here's the slide. Okay. Chapter 2 has advanced animations. They talk more about this. And Chapter 4 is about transparencies, that alpha channeling stuff that I was just describing. Okay? But I didn't want to get too far into the semester before you discover this or ran across it and stuff. So get rid of the graph. Also, there's a numerical value that you can actually type this stuff in. I don't recommend this. I can never keep this math in my head. But you might be able to. And you can always go in and change this, you know. It's not going to let me change it. Okay. But yeah, again, it's just a nice way of knowing. So if you do get into these things, again, I've just got straight moving across. I was just demonstrating this as a straight version of what I just did. But if I do an easy in F9 at the beginning and the end, this gives me a bell curve. Actually, I must have been playing with this earlier. But you can see how it speeds up. They're both constant. And you can do really crazy stuff with this. So again, this is just one of those bizarre things that's hidden under the hood. And this is the sort of stuff we're going to start getting into more and more with After Effects, is these weird little things. Some nights I'm going to spend on like one topic, and other nights I'm going to have to break it down to these smaller topics just to cover them. Because obviously this would not take an entire evening to go. By the way, if you know your Illustrator, you know how to handle the Bezier curves here, you'll do a lot there. One of the neat things about this new version is you can actually play with it more, in the sense of, I have both of them selected. Why am I having issues? Anyhow, so sort of fun stuff and things like that. Boy, did I give you guys a lot to think about, haven't I? We've gone from alpha channels with Photoshop into doing parent-child animations in the Puppet tool, into folding 3D maps, into expressions, and just a quick little thing of how to do easy ease. F9 is the fastest way to do that, and that's your friend. Just makes smoother ones, but be careful. If you have a lot of keyframes, it'll do a lot of start and stopping. So you do want to control that. You might only want to do one or two of them at the start and beginning. Again, that's an artistic choice. And if you really want to get into it, you can learn the graph editor. But I don't necessarily recommend that to start with. I'm perfectly happy with no easy ease for you guys. I mean, I'm dumping so much information on you, I do apologize. But this is the only way I can get through this class with all the things. A lot of the stuff will be tied more in together as we learn more things. Okay, I don't throw this, some of the stuff I throw out for the simple reason you just need to be aware that it exists. Other times I throw things out is because we're going to build upon it. The alpha channeling, for example, is going to come back and revisit that whole concept for a few more times through the semester, because we're going to eventually get into green screen work and things like that at the very end of the semester. So don't feel like that was wasted time. And it's also fun to learn that sort of thing. Learning also that you can, how Photoshop and After Effects are tied together. So I probably have melted your brains at this point. I'm just guessing. It's warm out there. Any thoughts, any comments, any questions whatsoever about anything that we've talked about this evening? You guys are so quiet. Also, there's not very many of you. We've got a lot of people missing tonight. Okay. We're up at 9:20 already. Yeah. I'm so glad I learned Photoshop before this class. That's why it's a prerequisite. And you'll also notice the crossover between After Effects and Photoshop. There is, it's made by the same company. It's not a coincidence these things sort of work together, right? And stuff. And we're just barely touching the surface of this. A few years back, I don't know if it's still in print, but there was a very good book called Photoshop and After Effects. And it went into vastly detail of how to put the two pieces of software together. Very, very amazing piece of writing, which I have on my bookshelf. Okay, I think I have melted you enough. You guys ready to call it a night? I will send up the links to Zoom sometime tomorrow. And I will get the videos up to YouTube as soon as I can. It may take an extra day. I've got a very busy day planned tomorrow. I've got several meetings I have to attend online, unfortunately. Yeah, online meetings are no more fun than being in-person meetings, I think. On the flip side, at least with Zoom meetings, I get to change my background and stuff, and I can do funny things with that. Okay, if there's no more questions, I'm going to stop the video and let you guys go. I will stay online for a bit longer to see if anybody has any personal or private things they want to talk about. So I see no questions popping up. Okay, so let me stop the recording. Everybody have a wonderful time. Stay healthy. Stay, 6 feet apart. Put on your masks. Okay, stay safe and healthy, okay? Stopping recording.